Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Mars is an extremely interesting planet, and the more we find out about it, the more we want to know. Everything we learn about Mars tells us more about how our own planet evolved and about prebiotic conditions or conditions that existed before the formation and evolution of life. And this is the main reason why we keep going back to Mars again and again with more and more expensive and sophisticated missions. In this video, we're going to talk about why Mars is so astrobiologically interesting, what we found so far, what these detections of liquid water or methane mean for life on Mars, and what difficulties future human missions hold. I'm Sandhya Ramesh, and this is Pure Science. Mars today likely does not have life on the surface. We'll speak a little bit more about the surface part in a bit, but the planet today is bathed in radiation and extreme cold. Because Mars does not have a protective magnetic field that surrounds the planet, it has no atmosphere today, and this allows the entire planet to be exposed to solar radiation. On Earth, the magnetic field around the planet protects the atmosphere by deflecting charged particles from the Sun and preventing them from stripping away the gases that surround the Earth. Nitrogen, oxygen, and most importantly, ozone molecules absorb the ultraviolet radiation coming from the Sun and thus protect all life on our planet. But on Mars, there is no magnetic field because the smaller planet cooled very rapidly after formation, and its liquid iron-nickel outer core does not really rotate fast enough to sustain a magnetosphere like the Earth does. Mars did have a geomagnetic field in the past, and it also had an atmosphere, but once the magnetic field was lost, the solar wind, or charged particles from the Sun, started to bombard Martian atmosphere and then stripped away all the gases slowly. When there's no atmosphere, there also is no planetary temperature regulation. In fact, the average surface temperature on Mars is minus 63 degrees Celsius. But when Mars did have an atmosphere, it also had a water cycle, much like what we have here on Earth. There were flowing streams and rivers, there were oceans, lakes, and all other kinds of water bodies, and we know all of this from studying the surface features on Mars, like outflow channels, which we know can be carved only by a flowing liquid. And in this case, that liquid was definitely water because Mars was also warmer in the past, and it still continues to have water ice trapped in its two poles. Today, since the atmospheric pressure on Mars is only about 1% of the Earth's, water cannot really exist in liquid form on the surface. However, during the warmest months of the year, salty water or brine flows in some regions, as it can exist as a liquid even below the freezing point of water. These are seasonal flows that flow on slopy surfaces, and they're called recurring slope lineae, or RSL. However, we know that Mars does have subsurface or underground lakes of liquid water. As of September 2020, we've discovered multiple of these. The discovery was made by European Space Agency ESA's Mars Express orbiter using its radar instrument. Now, we speculate that in the extremely unlikely chance that there is life on the red planet today, it could be present in these underground bodies of liquid water, safe from the radiation and the extreme cold at the surface. When it comes to astrobiology, or looking for signs of life or habitability on other astronomical bodies, the presence of liquid water acts as a giant magnet for the attention of scientists. This is because liquid water is a very crucial ingredient for the formation and sustenance of all life, at least life as we know it on planet Earth. Liquid water is a universal solvent. This means that it is able to dissolve more substances than any other liquid that we know, and it enables the flow of nutrients, say, to primitive life forms, and it also enables the flow of waste away from these life forms. It also aids the flow of nutrients and waste into and away from the cells in our bodies. In fact, cytoplasm inside our cells is primarily composed of water. Water also stays liquid over a wide range of temperatures and pressures, and thus these properties are preserved under widely varying conditions. For example, water exists as liquid on the surface of Earth at a pressure of 1 atmosphere, but it is also a liquid at the bottom of the Mariana Trench where the pressure is 8,000 atmospheres. Ice floats, so in really freezing conditions, it's only the top layer of water that freezes and the liquid underneath remains a warmer temperature, thus preserving habitable conditions even in our oceans. Even under sea ice on Earth near the poles, the water tends to remain much warmer than the ice on the surface. This has also helped preserve Earth's own life forms multiple times, as we've had several glaciation events or ice ages and even multiple snowball Earth events where the entire planet was covered in ice, but the oceans below remained warmer. Water is a structural agent too. Anyone who has houseplants will know that if you don't water your plants, they start to droop. Water is what keeps them upright. All in all, it is probably the most crucial ingredient to look for life when we hunt for life outside, and that is why there is tremendous interest in exploring not just Mars but also other bodies like Jupiter's moon Europa and Saturn's moon Enceladus, both of which are icy and hold subsurface liquid oceans. Apart from liquid water, there are other biosignatures or indicators of habitability on Mars, which is why we are trying to understand its past conditions and maybe try and find microbial fossils if life ever existed there. Mars has carbon-bearing organic compounds beneath the surface in the soil that are very similar to the kind of molecules that are found in our Earth's soil. Scientists have also recorded methane, another organic compound in the thin, wispy Martian atmosphere. Methane is very interesting because it is typically formed by either biological or geological processes. On Earth, we are familiar with methane. It is a potent greenhouse gas, and we know that it's released from livestock or cows. Methane is also released when we burn or transport fossil fuels. But it's also released when organic matter decays when it's broken down by bacteria. But methane can remain in the atmosphere only for about 12 years or so. It gets broken down very quickly. So to detect it on Mars would mean that something is replenishing the methane in the atmosphere. Something's either creating it or it's getting released from trapped ice, like it's happening today in Siberia, where large quantities of methane are being released as the permafrost melts. But methane is also formed by geological processes. It is formed when water interacts with rocks, and it is released through volcanism. But there is no volcanism currently active on Mars. There was previously. In fact, the solar system's tallest volcano, not mountain but volcano, is Olympus Mons, which has been silent for about 25 million years or so because there is no magma that can come out anymore. But Mars is seismically active. It does have quakes called Mars quakes, which are not due to plate tectonics. There are none on Mars, but these Mars quakes occur because the planet cooled and it's shrinking and contracting. This tends to rupture and fracture the brittle crust, and thus this creates Mars quakes. These quakes have been recorded by the stationary InSight lander that has recorded several of these, in fact. Now, all of these were about the past habitability on Mars, and this is currently being studied by its active 8 orbiters, 1 lander and 2 rovers which are exploring the planet. But what about future habitability? How soon can humans go to Mars and settle there? Well, as much as we'd like to dream, human settling on Mars is likely not happening anytime soon. There isn't enough oxygen on the planet, there isn't liquid water on the surface, there isn't enough atmospheric pressure, there is excessive radiation, and the temperature is too cold. To combat all of this, we need to develop livable habitats, and some ideas that have been floated include living in lava tubes or tubular structures formed under the surface by flowing lava or magma in the past. But we don't have the tech for any of that yet. We need comfortable spacesuits to walk around, we need food that can last several years, we need power supply, and we need vehicles to move around. Because Mars is so far away from Earth, even though it is our planetary neighbor, the quickest trips to the planet can only be planned every 26 months according to how the planets line up. So there is also an increased risk of safety, lack of emergency access, and the psychological and sociological effects of isolation. These include anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, fatigue, sleep disorder, inability to focus, irritability, and much more. There are also physiological problems that humans are anticipated to undergo, including loss of muscle mass and bone mass, slowdown of the cardiovascular system due to low gravity, and other psychosomatic stresses which can manifest as physical symptoms like vertigo, headaches, nausea, and lethargy. Astronauts have also experienced weaknesses and lowered aerobic capacity or oxygen intake. The low gravity on the planet, which is about 1/3 of the Earth's, also enables microbes to grow much more virulent and stronger, so medical emergencies could in fact very quickly become fatal. All in all, the challenges are too hard to overcome anytime soon to send humans safely to Mars. This is likely not going to happen in the next few decades, but the red planet is currently populated by robots which act as our proxy, and the future is only going to see more robotic missions that gather enough data for us to understand the planet thoroughly or well enough as we make plans to fly there ourselves.